It's a great pleasure to be here this great Thursday, and I bring you the Polity from the Abuja studio of Kaftan Television. My name is Dayo Omogun, and it's a great time to go together on this cruise once again, the Polity cruise, where we take a look at what's happening in Nigeria, and we try to look at it as dispassionately as possible, and also invite you to call in on the program so that together we can push our dear country, Nigeria, forward. I'm glad to say that my guest is here already, and that means that we can hit the ground running. My guest today is Mr. Ben Agunloye, very great analyst, very articulate, with a depth of history and a sense of balance. I welcome you.
Good afternoon.
It's good to have you. Now, so today we're talking about the role of governance in curbing insecurity. Something broke this morning, and the Daily Trust of today, the governor of Zamfara was quoted as saying that he can end banditry in 2 months. That's quite striking. That's quite interesting. That's quite revealing. I mean, it says so very much. He went on to say, I swear by Allah, I know the movement of the leaders of these bandits. I can show you on my phone where as they go out or as they come in. Now, what does that leave us with? It says that the governors know a lot about what's happening in terms of all these criminalities. Yeah, if what the governor said is true of even just half of the governors across Nigeria, then the governors truly have a whole lot of information that they are not making available to the security operatives with which to combat what has become a nightmare of many years. And that should be disturbing. That should be worrisome. If a governor says, I can end it in 2 months, and he's been in office for 2 years, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
more than 2 years. Yeah, he's been in office for 2 years or more, and he says he can end it in 2 months. You are forced to ask, why the ceremony? What have you been waiting for? Why are you saying that now? Why didn't you deal with it? Why did you allow several lives to be lost, several properties to be lost, millions in properties to be lost? Too many questions. And so if you allowed it, if you knew and you weren't doing anything about it, does it mean that it's part of your agenda? Is it something you are promoting? Are you a beneficiary from what's happening? Are you, I mean, the questions are very many. But I'm going to start talking with my guest so that he can point, okay, he can shed more light. Maybe he has access to the governor of Zamfara, or he has access to the way his mind is working. He'll be able to he'll be able to articulate what's happening. Ben, I don't know whether you saw that headline.
Well, I saw the headline. The headline is both worrisome, disturbing, and I would say shameful. If he has that level of information, and that information is not available to the security forces, and he is the chief security officer of the state, and he is the chairman of the security council of the state, where you have the Air Force, the DSS, the army, the police, and all other apparatus, and he has not been able to solve the problem in 2 years and 4 months. And then he's telling us, give me control. if I were the president, I would also not fund. He who pays the piper dictates the tune. He is the governor of the state. He is the chief security officer there at the issue. The people killed are first and foremost from his state before they are from elsewhere.
Sure.
Even if they are from elsewhere and they are killed in his state,
they are resident in his state,
the story will be written.
It will be about
his state and not about anything else. So I think that this idea of people talking, talk is cheap. Technology sometimes is also cheap. So adducing evidence and proving fact and grandstanding, it's one thing. But the reality is
another thing.
What does that statement contribute to solving the problem in the immediate? What has he done as the governor to improve the security situation in Zamfara state? In Niger, we have seen the governor engage the hunters. We have seen the governor engage the vigilante network, and they are helping to comb some areas where the police cannot be are not physically present, or the police cannot navigate. In Kaduna, you also have such. There is the community relationship, there is the religious body, there is the community leaders, there is the hunters group, there is a vigilante group, and we know that there is a way that the governor is making them synergize with the state actors to at least provide security in those environments. In Zamfara, what exactly has the governor done? In the southwest, there is Amotekun. So where is his own version of Amotekun? The federal government shouldn't train forces and hand it over to him to control. The last time I checked, governance, yes, is governance. He's an opposition governor, and he would want to do the interest of his party. No doubt about that. So he wants credit to himself, but he wants to use the tools. So I should sharpen the cutlass and give it to you to cut my neck. No, I don't think what he's asking for is realistic. What he should be doing is, rather than go out there and begin to talk what is not, because for me, there are information we release to the public that shouldn't be there.
Exactly.
You don't have to prove you have their contact. I don't care. If, however, I were the president and you claim you have the contact, you have been there for 2 years, you have not done anything, I would likely declare a state of emergency and accuse you of
and remove you from out of the way.
You of treason.
Exactly.
Because if you have their contacts and you have not done anything about it, the minister of the state for defense is from your state.
You have not liaised with him.
The minister of defense is not too far from you. You have not spoken to the two of them. You have not said, okay, we have put down this plan of action and the security forces have failed us. You have no proof that that has happened. All you are saying is they should give you control to what extent? If you don't phone the commissioner, are you saying that the commissioner should not take instruction from whoever is paying him and take instruction from you who is not paying? I don't think I agree. The commissioner, the brigade commander, whoever is on ground in Zamfara had instructions to work with you. You are the security council meeting. You are the chairman. Information like this should be discussed at that
security
level.
Meeting.
And if it is beyond them to take action, then the DSS will refer to his headquarters, the army, the brigade commander will refer to his JOC or to the sector commander or to the chief of army staff, as the case may be. But you have not tabled that. You're saying it's just the same way the governor of Oyo was in a party and was saying we knew the bandits are in the forest just right behind us here. I don't think those are statements for the public. Those are statements that should be to the security forces so that they can decide what action to take. Not that you are saying you have information. The information that you have that is not used, knowledge we say is power, but it becomes power when it can be used,
when it's deployed.
When you have not deployed it and you just have it, is a useless information because people are still dying. the state is still not secure. There is still uncertainty. So for me, I think that statement in the face value of it just shows that we have people who are prepared to aggrandize self than to take responsibility for governance.
Very sad, really, if you ask me, because it's such that statement, apart from the bragging rights, I do not see the value. In actual fact, in a proper setting, okay, save for the fact that there is immunity. In a proper setting, such a person should be brought in and questioned.
Yes.
Because you can't have such information and not make it available to the security forces, and you are the leader of the state, you are the chief security officer, the government, the basic function of government is the security and welfare of the people. No, this is sad. So I really think that it should not end there. Those pronouncements, even if it can't be prosecuted, I think that is something that the DSS should rush to try to work on. I think so. What do you think is?
No, the thing is that right now, at least, even though he cannot be tried, that's what we say. He cannot be arrested. He has immunity, but he's not immune from answering questions. So I think that the various intelligence agencies and the security forces should be interrogating him by now. What do you have? He should give the information that is available to him, and then it can be acted upon. And of course, him asking, we cannot give him control of DSS and the rest. Like I said, he should go and set up his own structure and system. And of course, the president has said, look, I have nothing against state police, but I'm afraid that the same Zamfara, I don't know if they have started paying the 30,000 minimum wage now. They were one of the last states that was still paying 12,000 when 70,000 was being negotiated. Zamfara was not paying 30,000 as of 2023. They were still paying the old minimum wage. So if you say today, give him the police, where is he going to get the fund?
That's not even the old minimum wage, because the old minimum wage was at 19,000.
Whether 18, but the reality is that Zamfara did not implement the 30,000 minimum wage from available records as at the time the 70,000 was being negotiated. So I am not sure if he has implemented 30 or if he's not implementing 70. Already some states are going from 70 to 90 to 104.
Yeah.
So where is he? Because the truth is this: if you are asking for power, you should also be ready to take responsibility.
Sure.
What has Zamfara State been able to provide the police with? One helicopter. Because when you come to surveillance, you come to patrol, I keep telling people that there are states in Nigeria, Taraba, Zamfara, Niger. If you actually do not equip the police sufficiently, policing them will be a waste of time, because they will not have the required number of men. Even with forerunners, some part of Taraba in the Gembu region are not navigable. So how do you patrol those areas? So when you say state police, it's going to be good for the states to, so like him talking now that if I have control, I can do this and that. Yes, but the question before we get there should be, what is the plan by each of the states to pay their policemen? Because we cannot afford to have the police go on strike for non-payment of salary. When doctors go on strike, people can go to neighboring states for treatment. Private hospital will exist. When teachers go on strike, children can go to private school. But when the police go on strike, where do we go? We'll go to the criminals. So if that be the case, then it means that beyond the powers, beyond every other concern, there has to be proper definition and planning and program in place to say this is how state police will be funded, because it is not state university, it is not state healthcare system, it is not state education system.
It's
security is more sensitive, and you cannot afford
to toy with,
to have them and allow them go on strike for non-payment of salary, or to not be able to do their job because the equipment are not
available
there. So we must be ready to fund state police before we go into bringing them into space. And of course, if we look at security generally, some months back, the president spoke on the idea of having an armed forest guard system.
Yes.
Today, that's what I expect states to be talking about. When do we activate this? Because until you have that done, I think that, because when you're looking at every environment and society have their own peculiarities.
Sure.
Our peculiarities, one of it is that a lot of our forests are ungoverned. And so if we are going to bring the government presence, if we are going to bring regulation, if we are going to ensure that these places are not habitation for all manners
of people,
then we need to activate the forest guard system as fast as possible. And I expect that the state, the local government, the National Assembly, the concerned citizens, whatever you will call them, Arewa, consultative, whatever we will call them across the board, across the nation, every interest group should be interested in activating a guard system that will keep our forest protected, that will keep our forest
safe,
clean of bandits and unwanted elements. But if we are not talking about that, all the story of what is the cliche that has come to us in the last 7 years and we are so proud about, we call it non-kinetic. For me, it is English. It is English. In the British system, when you go any corner, they tell you there is a camera here. It sounds intimidating, but the practical reality is whether the camera work or not. But because you've been told that
there's a consciousness.
The consciousness to behave is established on you.
Yes.
You are running through their forest, and then you are seeing the federal speed limit, and then you see the bus suddenly slow down. Why? Because he almost exceeded the federal speed limit on that federal highway. He might not be caught immediately, but he will sure get his ticket and make his payment. That's because there is something in that forest that monitors. Yes, there are places where some of them exceed, but they know that by the time you get to so and so point, there is a camera that will capture you. So before they approach the camera to the point where their velocity of approach can be measured, they had already slowed. But it's a control. If the whole place had been totally blank and empty, then you can be sure that people would have, without limit, violate all those limits. They would have continued to violate it. So we should be looking seriously at the timeline. When are we taking up the forest guard system? How are they going to be recruited? Who is going to train them? If there is the need to make budgetary provision for their payment and their welfare and the rest, are they going to be accommodated in some form of environment, or they will live within the contiguous communities of the forest? I think all those agenda should be coming forth right now. The National Assembly Committee on Security should be looking at that. Or if they are going to be a Ministry of Internal Affairs or a Ministry of Environment, wherever you are sending them to be, the relevant committees should be activating action. But until we can put them in the forest, I am sorry that the forest will remain unsafe. And as long as the forest remain unsafe, banditry will continue. But when you can take care of the forest and establish presence and make sure that they are no longer ungoverned spaces. So I think that idea is supposed to be a master stroke. But when you have your joker in your hand, and then you are going ahead to lose the game, and you are not even showing any sign, I don't think it's fair. It's something that has to be done now. It's something that must begin as early as January 2026. Those guys should be on ground. It means that the process of recruitment should start now. The budgetary provision should start now. Whatever needed to be done should be in place, so that when we are entering into next year, you are activating them across the nation. Apart from the fact that it's going to procreate direct employment, it's also going to create indirect employment. Because when you give more people job, some of them will have to live wherever they are squatting now to rent a proper house. So somebody gets something for that. They are going to possibly begin to cook on their own or patronize mama put. Then the customer base of those cooking in the environment must rise. There are other things they will begin to do. And the fact that they are present and there is no security, there are farms that people have abandoned that they will start going again. In some part of India and Ekiti State, I'm sure people who have their farm 7 kilometers away from the community, a number of those farms are already abandoned because of the fear of kidnapping, because of the fear of bandits and of kidnapping predominantly. Yes, there might be a motorcycle on the highway, but I'm not sure they go behind the mountain to all those farms that are 5, 6, 7 kilometers away from the community. And whether they go or not, the people do not have the confidence to go to such places anymore. So the crops that are there are being abandoned. So basically, we must take charge of the forest belt. We must take charge of the plantation. We must take charge of the forest reserve. And if those forces is the best way to take charge, I think we should go ahead. Because with the police and the army, the number of boots on ground are absolutely too few.
True.
And their training process is not like you are not teaching people to cook maize. No, that's not the training of the military. It takes some time. And it's not even the day you get them out of training that you can throw them everywhere. You also still need to get some additional instruction and experience before you put them on the field to do certain things. So when you put that in place, and then you look at when the peace return, if you today engage 1 million soldiers because there is crisis, when the peace return, what will you be doing with the 1 million soldier? And at that time again, you possibly now want to, they become a burden because they must end
the cost.
Even if you decide to retire them in the new environment that they are going to, which they are not used to, they will also get there and begin to create some form of instability, because they had hitherto not been part of the community as long as they were regimented. And then people were still hoping they will be with you for 25, 30, 35 years, but after 10 years you are allowing them to come back home. That's an issue on its own.
Yeah. All right. I have a fairly early caller, and I'm going to take him now. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I want to contribute to the program.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. What I want to say is that is that for a government that is saying that they have a solution to the bandits. If you can wish for that, there's a possibility that they have a solution. Because if you watch what there's something I saw on the news the other time, I don't know whether all of us would have forgotten that Alice Murray, they said that he gave them about $9 billion to peace.
To do what?
That kind of amount. $9 there's a possibility that you can use that money to stop the banditry. If you have $9 billion with you, you can see most of all this that you're saying in Nigeria is poverty. There's a possibility for him to sue and say that he can stop it. It's true. He can stop it. With that money that is with him, he can stop it. Nigeria, since another woman said that, nobody is talking about that one. So for him to say that, if he could bring out that money, even half of that money can stop that banditry.
So what money?
For me, you can stop it. So for you, for us not to say it that way, say to call him to question all this, because that one doesn't need that. Let them go to him and tell him, how is he going to stop it? Let him stop it. If it's that money that is with him, let him use it to stop that banditry. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. What money?
There was an allegation of, I think, was it Ali Simade, Mrs. Madueke, saying he had some money. You know, he used to be in Zamfara, he used to be in First Bank or whatever.
Right.
But
yes.
So, but that's not even the issue here. He's not saying he can solve it
with his own money.
He's saying the federal government should give him control of the security forces. If I have control, that's the condition that he's putting. He wants control of an army that he has not trained, that he has not spent money on. So he wants the government to he wants the federal government to put in the money, bypass the Ministry of Defense. That's what he's saying. Allow me to bypass the Ministry of Defense and bypass the hierarchies in Abuja and run the security system in the state. That's what he seems to be asking for. And that's why we are saying, if he wants the powers, he should put his own money there. He should raise his men and ask the army to train this number of soldiers for Zamfara, or train this number of, you can call them whatever name, Ondo Adamotekun, no doubt about that. In Niger and Kaduna, like I would always insist, they use the vigilante network and the hunters. They are well trained. They give them uniform and they allow them to interact with the state actors. So rather than asking to take over federal function, he should, and that's what I am insisting, he should create his own line of command and then put them in place, and then they can work in collaboration with the federal forces to solve the problem. But if he decides to take the Ministry of Defense as an enemy, and then he's not talking to the service chiefs, and then you want them to give you their men as errand boy, I really don't think that makes a lot of sense.
All right. At a time, you have just brought the issue of the National Forest Guards into a broad view with your intervention, and this is about the same time, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is saying, you know what, I think we need to take a look at the issue of state police, and I think we need to go that route. Now, let me start by asking, do you really think that state police can bring an end to what we currently face?
I don't think so. And this is why I am saying that. Like I said, my fears with state police is simple. I'm not with those who say they can be abused or they cannot be abused. If the person in power abused them, when he leaves office, another person will take over and there will be changes. But it is the
sustainability. There will be changes, or he also will abuse to favor him.
He will either abuse them. That's what I'm saying. There will be changes. Okay, it will not continue to be the same
in
order.
Favor of particular.
A new person will come and change, and they will still have to dance to his tune, or the commanders will leave, and a new set of people will come. So I really don't have problem with that. But what I have problem with is, how do we provide equipment for the police? How do we ensure their welfare? How do we ensure that their salary will be paid and they will not be owed? If that is properly defined, then I think we can go ahead. Any other issue, we can solve them when we get there. But as to the issue of equipping the modern police, as to the issue of paying their salary, as to the issue of moving them from point to point, basic logistics, as to the issue of tools that they need for both intelligence gathering and for operational efficiencies, those must be defined ahead. Any state that cannot define that appropriately is not fit to start. Lagos had a system that supports the police, and I don't think they have ever had federal government come and give us a kobo. At some point, Lagos bought helicopters for that system, and all they needed to do is, these things are going to be within our control because we buy them, so that you don't take the helicopter and send it to Taraba, and then Lagos will have crisis and we need 5 hours for it to arrive.
To get back.
So you should get to that. So every state should come up with their plan to sustainably fund the police. Like I said, the policeman, the police chief will not be like a vice chancellor who can at the same time go and be visiting lecturer in 1 or 2 other university. He is not a principal who, when the school gets shut down, the children, and including his own children, can go to private school. If you shut down the police station due to strike, what alternative is open to the people? So I'm not, yes, that's why I'm not so excited about the state police. Community policing possibly would have been better, but we've already gone far away from that station where it can be effectively done. And this is what I mean by that. In places where that is done and done effectively, the government has a measure of control over some accommodation. Because when you want to move people at will and you want them to do whatever for you, it means that they don't have to think about the logistics of the movement.
Sure.
We just need them to be available, physically alert, and use their intellect and their skill. But if they now have to really want
also
to provide how to get there, by how to travel there, how to find where to sleep, how to find what to eat in a strange land, there is going to be issue. So the plan must be on ground as to how do you maintain the state police. Equipment, salaries, welfare, training,
insurance,
their medical, their continuous funding, and of course their families, because the case will now be different. State police will likely recruit people who are from the same state into the system, and that means that their children and their wife will live in the same state. So what will be the immediate plan for the police children? Are we putting them on scholarship? Are we putting them on free education because their parents are policemen, and you don't want the parents to start worrying and using his gun to look for money to pay school fees? Those are questions that must be properly defined.
There's a point you touched on, and somebody in the other program, I think on the press, somebody did suggest, rather than have an outright state police, why don't you recruit more policemen and ensure that they are recruited from within their own their places of origin, and they are posted there because they are familiar with the terrain, they are familiar with the language, they are familiar with some of the cultural practices, and so on and so forth. So why don't you retain the police force as it is, leaving control at the center, while ensuring that those who are brought in are from within the state? Does that make sense to you?
Well, it makes some sense, but you're also still going to have the issue of the funding and the control. Governors want more control, and
they already have too much control.
More control in the areas of policing. Let them also put their money there. I think that is one of the things that is happening with the advocates of the state police. That yes, you want police that you can control, you want to have your own chief inspector, and it's like when you check some countries, in the US they've got some form of levels. In the UK, of course, you have the British police, and when you get to Scotland, of course, there is the state police across the state, the Grampian, the Glaswegian, and the rest of them. They also have what it's more like the police that is local to
The state.
the state. So to a large extent, I don't think that there is anything so much wrong in the idea. But what some of us would insist, like I said, is let's define how they get paid. And let every state then be able to define how do we run our affairs. Okay, we have this number of people that we can train and they cannot be posted out. Why the federal police can continue to move their people
all around. Right. Okay, so we'll leave it here, take a break, have a breather, and then when we get back, we make progress. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned to Kaftan TV. Thank you. Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still on to the Polity, and it's coming to you from the Center of Unity, Abuja. Of course, the station is Kaftan Television. My name is Dayo Mogo. I have with me, for those who are just joining us, I have with me Ben Agunloye, and he's been doing a fantastic job taking a look at how the role that governors should be taking right now. As it is, it looks as if that so much focus has been on the federal government, on the center, allowing the governors to snooze. Because if a governor says he knows so much, and it's possible that so many other governors also are in the know, then why are we always crying against the federal government? So it's about time to take another look. Even right now, somebody was in the studio with me this morning saying that even right now, the governors don't need to take orders from Abuja necessarily, that they have the Commissioner of Police, they have an AIG that is domiciled within the zone, and then they have a DIG who's domiciled in Abuja, but who is responsible for that particular zone, and that within this framework, any diligent, creative governor who's passionate about security in his state can get things done. And then there were other structures he talked about, lower structures within the system. And so I really think that we need to fashion out a system that really puts some measure of responsibility on the governors to ensure that they are not just called chief security officers, but that indeed, at least substantially to some extent, they are indeed chief security officers. And that's what Ben's been talking about also. The excuse that the governor of Zamfara is giving is that he needs control and that he can end it in 2 months. Now, what that does again is an indictment of the federal government. It's an indictment of the defense leadership. And of course, you know, this is one man from a different party. This is the defense minister from a different party. So those politicking could also be issues. But what we're saying is, the Bible says that he who is faithful in little is also faithful in much. Before you begin to ask for so much, what exactly have you been able to do? For example, in the non-kinetic, for example, if you make life better for people, if poverty rate is reduced, if we can truly attend to the people. You know, there was this organization that went recently to give some intervention in that state, the same state, I remember, the same state. And it was targeted at the female gender. Guess what? The people who came for that program were people who don't really need it. Were children of so and so and so, the children of this, that, children of this party chairman, children of commissioner, children of those kind of people. Whereas that ought to have percolated, that ought to have gone down to solve some poverty, to take away some poverty from the lives of people. But it is the people who already have that also benefited from such a project. And of course, the organization didn't have a choice because they had to. It had to be facilitated by the state government. But I think that again, maybe organizations should take responsibility and bypass that kind of protocol and go straight and find a way of going straight to the people, all they need is security, isn't it? All they need is ensure that they get security, which they can get through the police force and the civil defense, so that you can truly get it to the people who need it. Because they were going to be trained in the use of in digital skills, and they were going to be empowered with some equipment to be able to carry out those skills. But you were going to, you got there, and the people who got those things were people from rich backgrounds, rich homes, people who really didn't need it, and who are not most likely going to use it for the purpose it was meant. Whereas there are a whole lot of poor people for whom that will make a huge difference. So these are some of the issues. So if indeed you do not have power to deploy kinetic what do you call it now, then I'm sure with money, the security votes that you people get, why don't you deploy it into the non-kinetic, make life really better, do propaganda, or is it propaganda, do a lot of public enlightenment, create awareness why those things, let it be massive, let it go through several languages and so on and so forth, and then I think that a whole lot will be done. Then let's go further on this. Now, if you I have a problem. I'm sorry, I'm not foisting this on you, but I'd like you to take a look at it, because the examples you have would inform how you move forward. Now, currently, we have a system where states do their elections for local government, and it's conducted at the state level.
Yes.
And every state has its own SEMA, right? State Electoral Management Agency, right?
State INEC.
Something like that, yeah. And so what we have seen over time is the worst kind of sham in almost all the states. So whatever party the governor belongs to has, even before the election, we tend to know that the outcome is going to be all on the side of the governor. It ought not to be so. That should raise questions, but nobody has really taken that as seriously as I think it deserves. Now, if that is so, if we have that on ground, what is the guarantee that a state police will not now even be used by the governor to also ensure those kind of things are established and much more? What is the guarantee that the governors who are already very powerful will not engage in greater levels of manipulation, greater levels of oppression, and so on and so forth, using the state police force? And on the basis of that, should we still go ahead and be projecting, this state police thing?
Well, we should look at it from a lot of perspective.
Sure, yes.
I think that the first local government election in 1998-99 thereabout was handled directly by INEC. Unfortunately, the governors came in and made their party members to become the foundation of the State Independent Electoral Commission. So CX from the foundation was laid on the wrong
flawed foundation, yeah.
So they were flawed from the foundation. The rules were not there to also protect the people in the local government. So they are the whims and caprices of the governor. The governor controls CX, the governor controls the State House of Assembly, and so the governor can decide what to do or not do with the local government. Even now that we have gone to the Supreme Court and Supreme Court still give local government autonomy,
it's still not
10 months down the line.
1 year.
What results?
1 year. It's already over 1 year, if I remember correctly. So it was July last year, July 11, if I remember correctly.
So up till now, we're still in the doldrum. The autonomy is still not there and may not be there for a long time to come. Some have noted, okay, bring local government election to the center and let INEC run
it,
the election. That's of course on the other side.
It won't be foolproof, but I think that the performance at the center is a lot better than.
It may be better,
yeah,
but we also cannot say what it will be. In 2007 election, it was the same federal INEC that was in charge. And then we have cross-river ballot papers being used to stuff boxes in part of Ondo South senatorial district. Those were part of the evidence that helped the Labour Party then to win the state. It was also similar things or different irregularities that helped Oshiomhole and AC to win in Edo, and to win in Osun, and to win in Ekiti. So to a large extent, it's not as if it will be foolproof. It's just that it may be better. But I also know that for election, we need to do more than we are doing now. I would always advocate a single day and a single point election for the nation. Whether it is local government, harmonize the tenure. Why give local government 3 years if the state has 4? Because that was actually where we started the problem in 2002. People were elected in 1999 along the same time with governor. By 2002, the governor forced them. The governor terminated their tenure as 3 years rather than allow them to be 4. And why did some of the governors do that? They wanted control of the local government. And some of the chairmen had come in before they become governors, and they were powerful. So they terminated their tenure, put in caretaker committees in place, and many of them had no election until after the 2003 general election. So they were able to use the resources of the local government and the people in the local government. The center also did not help matter. President Obasanjo's cabinet took local government money to buy private jeep for the police. They bought 1,000 from the money that was meant for the 774 local government, or is it 698 768 local government.
Put that side by side with the current scenario where the governors just muzzle the local governments and
from that.
No, I'm saying that that's better because that was from it was put into security.
It wasn't better. You should ask me. You don't spend my money
anyway, on
my behalf.
That's true.
It wasn't the right thing to do. One leg of impunity will always lead to higher. It's as simple as that. When you take children and you drive one way, when they decide to cross the road and not use the pedestrian bridge, don't blame them, because you started it. You told them that the road codes are not meant to be obeyed. So lawlessness is lawlessness, impunity is impunity. It doesn't matter the justification.
I agree with you.
Whether you steal to flaunt or you steal because you are hungry, stealing is stealing. If it's because you are hungry, you could also have begged and negotiate, and you might have asked somebody who is compassionate that would attend to you. So the impunity on the local government emanated from the federal in 2002. Then of course the next step was for the governors to now sack all of them, because it was in the midst of them protesting that why should you take our money to buy car for the police on our behalf. At least that should have been
our own decision.
Not that the federal government would take local government allocation to buy vehicle. Then the state governors, while they were still arguing for that, the state governors sacked all of them and put caretaker committee in place.
I think there are a whole lot of issues coming up even now. That why exactly do you have a lesser tenure for local government?
So it should be return it to 4 years. Let everybody be 4 years. Let the general election be the same day.
And everybody lives at the same time. Because part of why they have so much power is because of that difference, that 1 year difference.
So if the election is the same time, everybody is doing the same campaign.
Exactly.
And then
everybody is doing their own job within the same time. And then we have the election the same day. And as far as I'm concerned, we should have a 1-point entry for election result, and that should be at the polling unit. Our system shouldn't just be a picture site. It should be a collation site, which means when the election is done in this constituency or in this electoral unit, the electoral officer can impute the figures.
yes, you can snap and keep what everybody has signed.
Yeah, as a
and then
record.
whoever is checking does not need you. All he needs to look at, this is what is signed, this is what is imputed. If they tally,
That's it.
then is actioned and it goes, and it means that by the time all the polling units have correctly entered their result, we know the result. So what you are doing at the collation center is just validation. You are just cross-checking that okay, what they brought is what has been entered. And everybody verifies that on his pin or whatever system it is.
All right.
And so apart from the polling booth, nobody at any point is allowed to alter whatever result has been
signed.
It should be read only. So the only place you can write is at the polling unit. So across board, it should be read only. One advantage that gives you in information management is that every other person read, they cannot write, and you cannot stay at a polling unit and put 1 million votes.
You can't do
the maximum you can put is the number of voters available
in that polling unit. All right.
Appear.
All right.
Then the result will also reflect.
Let's see if we will get one or two persons who wants to weigh in on this. The numbers it's actually been open, and it's 080-299-38365. And if you are there and you are interested in this is your chance. This is your time. So. For someone who probably was listening to the last part of that, you probably could get confused. We're not talking about the elections. We're talking about insecurity and the role of governors. Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
I want to contribute. What I want to say is that concerning the state police.
You go tell us your name first. You go tell us your name.
My name is Solomon. I'm calling from Kuje.
From Kuje, all right.
Yes, yeah. So what I want to say is that this state police, we have something they will call peace corps. That one,
yes.
Peace corps. So I think that peace corps, they have abandoned this thing. So if they can use it, before me, so use it for every local government. All those peace corps, they now go for training. I want to hear that I'm saying the military attempt, I don't know. They can train them again and put every local government that you are from, they take your phone. They put this there, use them as like police, this state police. I don't know if that's my own suggestion, or either the state police or this forest guard or something. You can use them for something. But the same time they have abandoned that. I used to see them in Kudeni as well. Some of them are doing security in the banks and all these schools. I used to like one wearing the uniform. So if they can federal government, I don't know, can use them. In that time they are not implementing, they just abandon that.
All right, Solomon. All right. Thank you, Solomon. Thank you. Does the Peace Corps still exist? He said he saw one yesterday.
Well, did anybody dissolve them?
Yeah, I think they were looking for.
They were looking for federal recognition.
Yes, for the National Assembly.
And of course, the National Assembly attempted giving them
some form of recognition.
But I think that for whatever reason, the state has not been able to say we are going to have them on board as a state actor. Okay. So they remain a non-state actor.
Oh, okay. Hello? You're welcome to.
Good morning, sir.
And afternoon and evening. Go on. My brother, you did great good morning for this 4 o'clock over there. So, all right. So, please do call in. The number is 0029. All right. Let's hope that is the same person. Hello.
Yes, well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Comrade Adams is speaking from Akura, Ondo State.
Thank you, sir. Go on.
Yes, actually, governors have a lot of roles to play in the security of the environment. Because that's why I used to support the state police. In the Southwest, they started the ad hoc state police for over 3 years now. And they call it Amoteco. And they function very well. You know that most of these killer men and other people, they fear Amoteco more than ordinary police. Because it gives our something to inculcate the local power.
Okay.
Ammunition, more than ordinary police.
Okay.
So, if it is now recognized, officially recognized, and in the Constitution of Nigeria, then it will make there will be opposition of security money to pay to the governor. The government of this governor security should be the payment that been given. There was no accountability, no auditor that can check them. But the state police now they can be able to utilize this money for the empowerment of the state police in all the local government area. All our forests were guarded by this because and even they will improve the security, the weapons to be given to this the local security that is from the second and another and the hunter. They will be giving them a lot of good weapons that will smash out of the all those criminals in the bush. Who that are using AK-47, AK-49. The state police is to carry the same AK-49, 47, and 49 too. To be able to combat this terrorists in the forest. And all form of criminality like kidnapping and others. So we support it. Even though they say that some areas where the state police can be manipulated by the government. Even the federal police, the police we are seeing are they not being used by the federal against the state? Look at what happened in Kano. Look at what happened in Safari during the violence that recently. Even the rivers and in Osu. Even the feds are used to use police now also to harass. But yes, it's still better than none. So state police have a lot of advantage. The advantage is one than the evil aspect of it. So it's supportive that our right. To be gathered to the state police.
I agree with you, Comrade Adeosi, because one of the things that will even do is that this excuse that I don't have authority, have you?
Yes. Like what the Zamfara governor is saying, many of them usually fall back on. That will be removed.
So it makes some sense, so that we now say, okay, what you asked for, you have gotten. Why are you still not delivering? Yeah. So. It makes some sense, and let's hope that someone out there is about to call in 002993835, and indeed, governors and their aides who are watching, please do know that we no longer are focusing on the center alone. The searchlight is getting focused on you a lot more, not just for security but for governance, because whether you like it or not, you are in a better position right now than you were a number of years ago to actually deliver on your mandates, on your promises to the electorate. So we're watching, the people are watching you. The buck passing from state governors to is the federal, it may no longer be valid very, very shortly. In actual fact, a lot of people already don't even buy that at all. So just in case you're there and you want to get in touch, it's your chance, but we might just be wrapping up the show at this point. And I want to say thank you to the production team, who are always very dependable, who are always give their top-notch service. I want to say thank you to all of you, and I say thank you to my guest for coming. Thank you so very much, Ben.
You're welcome.
And even though today again it was at very, very short notice, and you're obliged, thank you so very much. This is the kind of love and passion that a lot of Nigerians have for their country, and they really desire that this country becomes a better place for all of us. I hope that dream comes to pass in our own time.
It will.
I hope so. And thank you, dear viewers, for staying tuned to Kaftan Television. This is one of those great programs that we bring to you on a daily basis. Tomorrow's another day. Please do stay tuned to Kaftan Television. Join me in the evening from 8 to 9 on Matters Horizon. I invite you. It will be a wonderful time again. Bye-bye.